Okay, let's unpack this. The summer transfer window is properly in full swing, and yeah, it's a whirlwind. Speculation, high stakes, big money.
Always is, isn't it?
Absolutely. But this time, look, one name has just been dominating the headlines. It's become a real saga, fascinating to watch. Victor Gyokeres.
Mm,
We're talking about his, well, highly anticipated, and it's getting pretty dramatic, potential move to Arsenal.
right. And for this deep dive, we've gone through a whole stack of your sources. We've got passionate Reddit discussions, detailed news reports, video transcripts, the lot.
So what's the plan?
Well, our mission really is to cut through all that noise, try and distill the key facts, understand the, conflicting viewpoints, and really get a grasp on what's at stake for the player, for sporting, and of course for Arsenal.
And why this one? Why Gyökeres?
We'll explore why this specific transfer saga has become so compelling and maybe what it tells us about the inner workings of elite football today.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The heart of the matter. Victor Gyokeres. His stats. Wow.
Yeah, impressive, just putting it mildly.
He's a statistical powerhouse, an incredible goal-scoring record. Now, the sources vary a tiny bit, but we're seeing numbers like, 54 goals in just 52 games for Sporting last season, 20, 24, 25.
Helped them win back-to-back titles, too.
Exactly. Other reports push it even higher, 80 goals and assists in 57 games. Someone said 97 goals in 102 appearances overall.
Look, whatever the exact number, the guy knows where the net is. Prolific.
But it's only half the story, isn't it? Because behind the goals, there's this clear desire, a singular focus. Arsenal.
His dream move.
That's what they're calling it. And he's really turning up the heat to make it happen, reportedly threatening to go on strike.
Yeah, and refusing to return for preseason training with Sporting, which was supposed to start, yesterday? Monday, July 8th.
That's an incredibly aggressive stance to take.
It absolutely is. And look, it has immediate consequences. You see comparisons being drawn to other players who forced moves. Ousmane Dembélé comes to mind.
Right. High-risk strategy.
Definitely high risk, high reward. It often gets the move done, yeah, but it can really affect how people see the player. His current club, future clubs, it leaves a mark.
And this pressure, this sort of brinkmanship, it ties straight into the money, doesn't it? The transfer fee and this alleged gentleman's agreement.
Oh, completely. Sporting's valuation is reportedly sky high. They're demanding 80 million. That's about 69 million pounds.
Wow. If that happens, he'd be the most expensive Swede ever. More than Zlatan, more than Isak.
Yep. Surpassing Ibrahimovic, 57 meters, and Isak, 63 meters. It's a huge statement fee.
Especially given the controversy around that earlier figure. Tell us about the gentleman's agreement.
Right. So this is where it gets messy. There were reports of a previous understanding, a sort of handshake deal, for 60 million plus 10 million in bonuses.
Okay.
But Sporting's president, Frederico Varandas, he came out really strongly against that. Basically said, and I'm quoting here loosely, threats, blackmail, insults, they don't work with me. Victor will not leave for 60 plus 10 euro, or I never promised this.
Strong words.
Very strong. And it really highlights how fragile these gentlemen's agreements are in football, doesn't it? When millions are on the line, unwritten understandings can just vanish. It shows a real lack of maybe formalized trust.
And wasn't there something about the agent claiming proof?
Yeah, another twist. Gyökeres' agent, Hassan Çetinkaya, reportedly claimed he had written proof of that 60 plus 10 million agreement.
Written proof. Okay, that's different.
Well, hold on. Because then another source came out later and reported those were fake quotes.
Oh, for goodness sake, so it's just mudslinging.
It adds layers and layers of murkiness. You don't know who to believe.
So amidst all this drama, where do things actually stand now in the real negotiations?
Well, the latest updates suggest Arsenal are advancing talks. They're reportedly closing in on a deal.
Okay, at what price? Not the 80 million.
Closer, around 75 million total, which is about 65 million pound. The structure being talked about is apparently 55 million upfront. That's 56.1 million plus another 15 million, or 12.9 million in bonuses.
Right, bonuses. Are they achievable ones?
Ah, well, that's the interesting part. Some are described as being tied to difficult objectives. Things like him winning the Ballon d'Or or Arsenal winning the Champions League.
Ballon d'Or, Champions League. Okay, so Sporting get the headline figure, but Arsenal limit their risk unless there's massive success. Clever.
It's definitely a way to structure it, yeah. Spread the risk.
Okay, let's switch focus a bit. Arsenal themselves, what's driving this urgent push for a striker?
Well, Mikel Arteta's been pretty open about it. He wants to increase the depth, increase the quality and the skills, basically take the team to the next step.
Which means trophies. big ones.
Exactly. And there's a real time pressure here. Arteta's reportedly set a deadline. He wants that striker signed before the team flies to Singapore for preseason.
When is that?
July 19th. So not much time left at all. Really puts the pressure on Edu and the recruitment team.
Doesn't give him much wiggle room, does it? So Gyökeres is the main target now.
It seems that way. They're in advanced talks, as we said. Personal terms are reportedly already agreed. 5-year deal.
But were there others? Are there backups?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Other names have been swirling around. Benjamin Sesko was heavily linked.
I remember that one.
Ollie Watkins, João Felix, even Nkunku was mentioned in some places, though that seems less likely.
So was Gyökeres always the number one?
That's an interesting question. Some sources suggest Arteta, or maybe others at the club, might have actually preferred Sesko. Others say both were equally desired. It suggests maybe they cast a wide net, or perhaps there was, some internal debate about the best fit.
Right. And this striker hunt, it's part of a much bigger picture this summer, isn't it? Arsenal's overall strategy feels very win now.
Absolutely. They've been incredibly busy already.
Martin Zubimendi, confirmed, right, 55 million.
Yep. Done and signed weeks ago, apparently. Already factored into Arteta's plans.
And Kepa Arrizabalaga, the goalkeeper.
Also complete. Experienced cover.
And then there's Christian Nørgaard coming in from Brentford.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. 31 years old, Premier League proven, Brentford captain, Denmark international.
His stats look good defensively. Interceptions, tackled.
Very solid.
Yeah.
More interceptions than anyone else in the league since 2021, apparently. Top for tackles, too. Seen as good cover, especially with Champions League football. Potential injuries. A smart bit of business, many are saying.
Okay, so that's 3 significant signings already in or basically done. But the rumors don't stop there, do they? It raises a massive question about funding all this.
Doesn't it just?
Especially when you look at other potential targets. Noni Madueke from Chelsea.
Exactly. The scale is huge. You have to wonder how they're financing it all. One source joked they'd need to rob a bank.
You can see why, though.
Yeah, looking at the reported figures. Moswake, for example. Personal terms supposedly agreed. 5-year deal. Arsenal preparing a bid.
But Chelsea want big money.
Yeah, there's a different valuation, as they say. Chelsea reportedly seeking 65 million. That's a lot for a winger who hasn't always been first choice.
And then there's Rodrigo at Real Madrid.
Interest there, too, yeah. Especially maybe because he hasn't had as much game time recently with Mbappe arriving.
Then Christian Mosquera, Valencia defender.
Linked with a 20 million move. So you add all these potential incomings up.
It's massive spending, which inevitably means exits.
You'd think so. Chatter around Martinelli or Trossard, maybe departing to make space or raise funds.
And that young lad, Ethan O'Neary, reluctant to sign a new deal.
Yeah. Reportedly wants guaranteed game time, which is always tricky for a young player at a top club. So yeah, it's a complex balancing act for Arsenal. Bring in stars, balance the books, manage the existing squad.
Okay, so we've done the drama, the money, the strategy. But let's get to the crunch question for Arsenal fans listening. Is Victor Gyokeres actually the right fit? Can this goal machine thrive in the Premier League in Arteta's specific system?
Yeah, the $1 million, 75 million question.
The arguments for him are pretty compelling. Walking goal machine, elite striker, praised for work rate, finishing.
And he's done it in England before, right? In the Championship.
Exactly. Yep. Coventry City, 38 goals in 91 games. That suggests he can handle the physicality. His link-up play, hold-up play, described as decent for such a big striker.
Okay, fair points. But, the sources also raise quite a few counter-arguments.
Yeah.
Concerns definitely exist.
Such as?
Well, his aerial ability gets criticized. Not aerially dominant for his size, can't head a ball. Those are quotes you see.
Okay. For a big guy, that's interesting.
Some question his technical ability compared to, say, Aubameyang in his prime at Arsenal.
Yeah.
Is he as clean, technically?
Right.
And then there's the big one, the system fit. Arsenal often have wingers holding the width, teams sitting deep against them. Could that limit Gyökeres' strengths? He likes playing in the channels, running in behind.
How he played at Sporting, you mean?
Yeah, his movement there often created space for midfielders running through. Would that work the same way at Arsenal against a low block? It's a valid question.
But hang on, if you're spending that kind of money on a supposedly elite striker, doesn't the manager adapt the system to him to some extent? Is Arsenal's system really so rigid?
That's a great point, and honestly, it's a huge debate. Managers definitely adapt, but some argue Arteta's philosophy is quite specific about the striker profile. Does Gyökeres fit that profile?
And what about the off-field stuff? The strike threat, the agent.
Yeah, that's been labeled a red flag by some commentators.
Hmm.
Adds another layer of concern for some fans. And then there's a debate, is he truly world-class?
Compared to Haaland and Mbappe?
Exactly. People bring that up. And look, it's worth noting, apparently 20 of his goals last season were penalties.
Ah, okay. That does change the open play numbers a bit.
Some sources use that to maybe temper the hype slightly, scrutinize the open play contributions more closely. His age, too, 27. Some ask if that gives him enough time to really adapt and develop further in the Premier League, especially compared to younger players who've come from Portugal.
Like Nunes at Liverpool, maybe?
Eh,
Did him time.
perhaps. And don't forget, as we mentioned, those reports that some people inside Arsenal might have preferred Sesko. That's significant if true.
You mentioned the Portuguese league debate. Some dismiss it, but the track record, it's pretty strong, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a lazy argument sometimes to just dismiss the league. Look at the players who've come directly to the Premier League and succeeded.
Nuno Mendes, João Neves recently, Vitinha, going back, Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, Rafinha, Diogo Jota.
Exactly. It's clearly a strong proving ground, so you can't just write him off because he played in Portugal.
And just quickly circling back to the agent thing, it seems wild how differently he's described.
It really is. Adds so much noise. Sources calling Gyokeres' agent shite, criminal, not doing him any favors.
Right.
But then another source describes him as one of the best in the world.
How can both be true?
Huh. It just shows you the murky, high-stakes world of agents and transfers. They could be heroes or villains, depending on who you ask and what day it is. It's definitely a key reason this whole saga has felt so, well, dramatic.
So what does it all mean then? We've really dug into the twists, the turns, the drama of Gyökeres alongside Arsenal's really ambitious summer. It feels like there's this huge push from the player,
Definitely.
combined with Arsenal's clear win-now mentality. They want to reach the very top.
Indeed. And this deep dive, I think, really highlights just how complex modern football transfers are. It's like this high-stakes chess match, isn't it? Player ambition, club finances, the tactical fit, the agent's role, all these pieces moving. And it leaves us, and maybe you listening, with a final thought to chew on. In this world of intense pressure, conflicting reports, huge money, how much actual true agency does a player like Gyökeres ultimately have when his dream move seems to hang in the balance of so many factors outside his control?
Something to ponder, definitely. As this transfer window keeps throwing up surprises, what stands out to you from all this?